So that's just to give you the first two little pieces. So we have 8, 8, 10, 11. Kind of a hammer on and back. 8 to 11 there, and then 8 to 9. So that whole phrase is. Okay, one more time. Now this next one. So that was 9 to 11 on the second. 8, quick hammer onto the 10. Back to the 8, quick to the 11, then kind of a slow slide from 10 to 12. Okay, let's look at those twos. We got. Now we're going to start on the 8th fret of the 2nd string. So we're going up to that 13, 8, 9, 11, 13, back to the 11. And then we have some faster notes. So that's a 9, 8 on the 2nd, 8, 10 on the G there. Follow that up with a little 8, 8, 10. So let's look at all that we got. And obviously listen to the record a lot to get the timing. How long you have to wait and everything. Now the next part. So that was 10 on the G, 8, 9, kind of go up to 11 and back, and then 8, 10, 8 is the final three notes there. And then you got pull off 10 to 8 on the G, another one, then this A string does that quick slidey blues kind of riff, and then quick one up, back to that 6 to the big 8 here. Okay, and there's another chord that pops in there at the top of that new measure, so it's kind of like that, and then we're gonna have. And it's the same riff and everything, but the timing can be a little bit different. So listen to how he does it and get some ideas from that. You know, a lot of this you could improvise yourself just on this basic melody is what he was doing too. You know, so that one's about the same. We got this one kind of slides into that 13. You get that 9, 8, 8, 10. It's another 8, 10. Now this one, 10, 8, 9, 11, 9, like before, but here we're gonna go quick kind of hammer on pull off. And that's 10 to 12 right there. Okay, then our next thing is gonna go. So that was 8 and 8 on the 2nd and 1st strings. We're gonna bend this 13 twice, and we got. So that's a bend down from that 13. Pull off to that 11. Back to the 13, wait a bit, and then give it a big bend at the end. So you got. Okay, now this part's going to get like an 8 and 11 on the 2nd string to a 10, 13 on the 1st string. And then you hit the 13 again, pull to the 11 though instead of the 10. 2 bends and it comes down, and they got. And Carlos has a real distinctive signature kind of way of doing this type of riff right here. That kind of a thing. About 4 bends on that one. Down to the 11 to the 13 on the 2nd. Got a little double pull off, 13, 11, 10. Another 11, 10, and then you got 3rd string here, 12, and then 10, 8, 7 in a row there. So let's look at everything we have so far. We got. And that is actually where it kind of changes to a more major type of a feel. And then we have. So that's a really cool riff. So this is like in your C minor pentatonic. You got the 11. And then we got to the 8 that second time. 11, 8. We got a quick bend on that 10. And at the end of that, we got 8, 8, 10. Yeah, that's what it is. So we got 8, 8, 10. And then we have this 8, 10, 8, 6 going down. 8, and has kind of a gnarly sound on that one. Could be like a minor 7 or a power chord kind of thing at the end there. Now it gets kind of pretty here and goes. Okay, so let's look at all that. We got the 10 on the D, then 7, 8, and then we're getting into 8, 10 on the G. We got like a pickup note on that D string 8. So a few times of that. 8, 10, 8, 10, 8 on the G. Now we got a little half step slide real quick, 7 to 8 on the B string. To the 11, we'll have that 8 on the D as a pickup again. So that's back in your C minor pentatonic. Okay, so one more time on that. Just 8s and 11s, and then got a bend on that 10 on the G. Back to that little riff, 8 to 10 to 8. Now this time it goes 10, 10, 8, and then 10, bend to 10, 8, and then we have this little riff. So it's that kind of hangs over a bit, and then and that's just like the one from before. Let's look at this new part once again. We got going back into that. So you can just kind of do the same type of thing and kind of find your little embellishments and stuff on that. So I want to take you through the chords right now. So the chords would be, you'd wait for a while. Now at this point you have a B flat 7 suspended. So that's like your B flat 7, 6, 8, 6, 7, 6, 6. But you got a pinky in here on the 8th fret of the G string. You're gonna start with that B flat 7 sus. Take the sus out and go to the 7. Now we're gonna have E flat major 7. So that's down here on the 5th string. 6, 8, 7, 8, 6. Okay. Now we're gonna go to A flat major 7. A lot of ways to play it. I kind of like to play it like this. You got the thumb bass over here on the 4. You got 5, 5, 4, 3 down here. So those chords were B flat 7 sus. B flat 7, E flat major 7, A flat major 7, that'd be a more standard way. And then we're gonna have G7 sus, 3rd fret to G7, then we have C minor 7. Same shape down here. Let me stop. We have that riff again. We're B flat 7 sus. B flat 7. Here's another way to do it. E flat major 7. We got A flat major 7. Now we're going G7 sus. G7. Now this time we're going C major 7. Now after that C major 7 changes the key of everything, we're going to come in with the F minor 7. B flat 7, back to that E flat major 7, and the A flat major 7, G7 sus, G7, and C minor 7. Let me stop again for that measure. Now at the end of the song, you're going to have some C minor 7, F minor 7. Gets really jamming in there. It gets really burning on the solo and stuff. And then after a while, it's going to go that C minor 7 to that B flat sus. You might do the C minor 7 over here. Okay, I'm going to play through everything one more time. Here's the major. Okay, so we have 5 and 7 on the A string, down to the 5 on the D, to the 7 on the A again. Quick hammer in, 5 to 7 on the D, so 5, 7 on the A, 5 on the D and back to A, 5, 5, 7. Okay, first part, 3, 4. And you kind of rake, reverse rake from the bottom to 12, 12, 12 in the bottom 3 strings. And let those kind of slide down. So we got slow, we'll go 3, 4. Okay, the second time we'll do the same riffs. But we'll hit the second and third string 12s and slide down the big 12 bass note, and then we're into the main riff. Okay, so we have a E bass, and then we're going to bend the third fret of the second string. and then a couple upstrokes on the opens of the bottom 2 strings. We're going to bend that 2 in the G string, pull it off, and then get into a trill with it. So, okay, so 3 and 4 and. Now this time, after the end of that, we're going to hit the G chord that kind of mutes the A, so it's 3, and then D string, G string. You can have the B string in there too. We're going to an A major or an A power chord, whichever you like. You can kind of hit the open 2, 2, 2 down here. Okay, so we're going to have. Okay, so that ends with a bump, bump, bang, 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 bang. So it's G, G, A, G, G. And then we start getting into the fills, which we're going to get into all that stuff. But I want to kind of keep it simple at the beginning of this lesson with all the main riffs, kind of the easier stuff. First riff, 3, 4. Okay, so that's our main riff, and that's going to go 3 times through. Then the 4th one is going to go G, G, A, G, G, into a fill. It's like. Okay, so we got the quick fills and stuff. We're going to get into those later, but like I say, we got a fill. Dun, 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 dun. Now that one comes in with the A. G, 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 G. And then this is kind of easier fill. Okay, so we have a 17 up here. Kind of goes up and back. And sometimes it goes down. It's kind of a little different each time, so give it a listen, but it's like. Ends with a 15 on the first, 17 on the second. Then we're going to get into these unison bends. 12 and 10, 12 on the G string, 10 on the B. 13 and 10, 15 and 12. That kind of ends with a 12s, D, G, and B strings. Down, down, down. And hit a couple more Gs and make that last one go down. And then you're back into. So let's say we're going to that change again. Okay, so we got more of that stuff. There's going to be a different type of a fill going back up to the 12th fret type of thing. So kind of the same ending with that stuff. We'll go over that, like I say, that fill that happens at the beginning of that. Kind of the same stuff. We'll end on these middle 12s, and then it slows down, and we got this cool little thing. We got 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. Okay, so pretty easy riff here. We're going to come in on the 4th beat. 1, 2, 3. So it's 9, 7, 9 on the G, and then we're going to go to the 8 a couple times on the B, back to this, so it's 1, 2, 3, and then we end with, so 9, 7 on the G, 9, 7, 9 on the D, big E, come in on the 4, so it's 1, 2, 3. This one's maybe like a little later to not sound exactly like the other one. Kind of has like, kind of a little more subtle with that 9 there. Same ending, 9, 7, 9, 7, 9. Then we get into a big lead, so I'm gonna hit on that later. Let's look at something that you could look at is a quick riff that's gonna happen in the solo. This is to kind of get you ready for the soloing. Okay, so that's a barring the 12s, and you're gonna go 12 to 15 on the second string, and then little string 12. So you could think of it as like triplets, 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a. But sometimes they're like 16th notes, like 1 E and a 2 E and a 2. And those are kind of spinning around on themselves, right? Okay, so we're gonna move ahead onto the other kind of easier riffs of the song. So then we have a riff come in that goes. Okay, and it actually goes to the intro riffs after that. So this riff is going to be 2, the B note on the A string, and then A, G, E, E. So it's 2, open A, G on the big one. Do that twice. O, 3, O, 3, low E, E octave on the D string, 2nd fret. So. And then the third one goes. So just the same thing twice, and then kind of hit an extra 2 there at the end. And sometimes he'll do things like. So watch out for little pull-offs and stuff like that. You can always throw a little spice in there. So the whole thing would be 3, 4. We're going to end with this riff here. So it's 12 and 14 on the D. Got the 12th fret G and back of that 14. Kind of a quick hammer, 12 to 14. You wait for a bit, and then there's a big kind of guitar fill that ends out the thing. We're going to end up with like a chord here going like. So that's like an E minor chord, 14, 12, 12, 12. We're going to go down 1 fret and come back. Kind of slide it down at the end. So here we're going to go back into the lead bits. We're going to have. So we got little 12, bend on the 15 on the 2nd string. 2 12s and another bend. So another 12 with a pull off, and then 14. We're going to bend it. We're going to hit the 14. So it's to the 14, and then we're going to bend it twice, but then the second time we're going to have a kind of a run-on riff, up and down, pull off, 14, 12, 14 over here in the 5th. So, okay. And then we got the. So that one kind of, like I say, it's a variates a bit, but it's kind of that same easy kind of thing. Then we got the unison. Okay, so we got all that kind of stuff. Then we're going to get back into the. So we got a little 12 again. Bend that 15 on the 2nd. Back to the 12, kind of stop there. And then we got a 15 on the small string, up and down, pull off to the 12. Pull off here, and then up and down, pull off. That 14, kind of easy, so. Okay, let me get in there. Okay, so our next thing is 12, 15, 12, second string. And then a quicker one, 15, 14, 12. 14 on the D, back to the 12. So it's 1, 2, 3. Few bends on the 15 on the second, pull off to the 12. Same thing on the first string. A few bends, pull off. Kind of a quick, kind of quiet one there. And then, so we have another bend here. So we're gonna go over this the timing wise too, but I'm just kind of running through the notes right now. So it's like. So we get into one of those riffs right there. Okay, so we're gonna break down the timing of all this stuff now. So we have 12, 15, 12. And then the 15, 14, 12, 14 and back. So these bends are like. Kind of a quick little bend there. Okay, so we got this 15 on the second string. 15, 15, 12 to 14 bend. 14, 12, 14 over here. Got that 12 and then got a little 11 on the G string right before we get into the new measure. 12 on the second, 12, 14 on the D. Ends with like a. So we get into the 12, 15, 12. So we end up doing this da-da-dee, da-da-dee, like 2 sets of 3 there. We're going to do that 4 times. 2, 3, 4. And then we have this little riff, 14, 12, 15, and back to 12. Same thing, but with 15 on the second string to third string. So 14 up and down, 12 to 14 on the D, and then 12, 12, 12, 12. So those are all 16th notes. So that makes it a little easier than some of the things, right? So this one's going to be 1 and a 2 E and a. So we got. We have double 14s here, third and second strings. Pull off to that 12 on the G, D string and back. And then we get into a repeating thing. So we're bending the 14 on the G, 12 on the B, bend the 15 on the B to the little 12. So it does it actually 7 times, right? And then it ends with a 12, 15, 12, bend up and down, 14, 12 there. And then we have a. So we have a 14 on the G to the 12 on the B. And then 15 up and down to 12. Bend the 17, bend the 19. It's kind of a quick riff. So the 12 to 15 is quick. And then we got a bend. Little 12, pull off. Okay, that's when we get into the E minor chord, 14, 12, 12. Sliding back and fretting back. We're back into the. And then eventually. You know, you got one of those same type of things. You got the. Okay, so this whole thing is like a set of 6 notes. So we got. And then we got that riff. Okay, so we're going to come in with that kind of a rake, 12s with the 14, bend up and down, pull off 3rd string, D string and back. Got that 14 and 12 back. So we got. Okay, and then we get a new measure. We're going to go. So we're bending the 14, 12, 12, 12 in the second, 15, and bend it. Da-dum. We got 2 12s at the end. Then we're going to have 14, 12, 12, pull off, 15, 12. Kind of have a little vibrato on that 14, make it last a little while. Maybe pull it off to the 12. Got a 2nd string, 15, 12, the little 15. So we got. So this new measure is going to go 12, 12, 15, 2nd string, little 12, 15, 12 the other way. Bend that one. These are 16th notes primarily. This is an 8th note right here. So it lasts a little longer than the rest. Okay, that's the first 2 beats. 1 E and a 2 E and. So the 3rd beat is going to go 15, 12, 2nd string, 14 up and down. And we got 12 in the G, 14 D, 12, and down to the B string 12. So this whole measure of primarily 16th notes is. And then the next one goes. Okay, so we have 12 in the G, 14 D. And you can have a little pull on that one if you want. We're going to go to that 14 on the A too. We have 12s, 14s, and 12s, bottom 3 strings, up beats. Then the last beat of that measure, bending that 14 up and down, going down to the D string 14. Now the new one's going to go. So we get into a 14, 12, 12, and then we start going 12, 15, 12, 12, 15, 12. Then in the next measure, you start going. Okay, so 15. Okay, so all that last kind of stuff was. Okay, so it just gets a little faster in there. So you got. Okay. And then you go. Gets faster up in there, right? And then we got a 14 G string bend, little 12, typical pull off 2nd string. Bend up and down, pull off, and then. So let's look at that. We got 12, 14 on the D, 12 on the G, and back to 14 there. 14, 14. Got 12 on the B string, back to that 14. Might hit that 14, going up a couple times. 15, we're going to bend. So we got. And then we're going to go. So little 12, pull off here, 12 in the G. I like to bend the 15, 2nd string, and then little 12, pull off here, 12 in the G string. And then slide up to the 16. So 14, 12, 14. Then we're going to end with this 12, 14, 12 to 14. Hammer in there. So once again, we got. Then our outro is going to go drum hit, pap. So we go 15 up and down on the small string. Pull off to the 12, and then we got a bend on the 17. It's like a half step bend on the 21 there. So we got. Psh. It's kind of a. So 14 and 15s. 12, got to bend that one. Kind of whatever kind of bluesy thing. Got those kind of things. Now, the interesting thing here is we have a 5-note phrase. It's going to go 18 on the G, 15, 17, 19 on the B, 17 on the E string. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 19 to 15 pull off, 17 to 15 to the 16 on the 3rd string. So we got. And then we're going to have one of those typical blues things, 14th fret. And we have this E minor chord. We might rake down a little bit. Then we got. Okay, so what we have there is like a G minor pentatonic type of thing. We got 3 to 5 on the D string, and a little kind of a pickup note there at the end, like on the D note of the 5th fret of the A string. So I use that same finger on that same fret so I don't have to roll that one over, so it's cleaner. So it's. So you do that same thing 3 times, and then you're going to hit one more of these G notes on that 5th fret of the D string. And you got the 2 5s on the G and B strings to the 2 3s over there. So you got. So on the 3rd one of this one, you're going to go straight down that G minor pentatonic. Hammer on, pull off. 5, 3, 1 to that G bass note. So. And then we're going to do the same thing. The only thing that's going to be different is the, instead of 5s to 3s, we're going to go 3s to 5s. So it's. Same riff there. So that thing just goes twice. So I'll do the whole thing one more time. And it just goes twice through. So there's a bit of an intro with like some drums and stuff, and then that thing comes in. That's kind of like the main riff of the tune. And then we're going to get into later, he's got a solo that's going to come up. This is going to be in triplets. It's going to be like 1 and a 2 and a, right? So you got 1. So we're going straight up this scale here, but we're not playing the first triplet. So it's like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then you got 2 notes into that next measure. So it's 10, 12 on the A, 10, 12 on the D, 9, 10, 12 on the G, 10, 12, 13 on the B, and then you got a 10 down here in the E, and then you got 12 to 12, first string to second string. So it's 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 boom. Okay, and then we're gonna have. So this next riff is 13 to 10. You got a 12, little pull off with that 15 to 12, and then we're gonna have a 13. Hold that a little bit, and then 12 to 10. Back in the triplets, we got 4 and a 1 and a 2. Okay, so we got 1. Now here's a riff that he's going to start to repeat a bit. It's got 12 on the D, and then you have a 9 to 10 on the G to the 10 on the B. Then we're going to have a 12, 9, 10, 10, and then 13, 12, 10, and then kind of a quicker double pull off there. So it's like, this is also after the first part of the first triplet. So like 1 and we're going to come in on the and. So 1 and okay, and then the next part, same thing. Wait till the second beat of that first triplet. 1. So this one's tricky. This is going to be like 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a quick one right there. So it's 1. Then we have more triplets, a new measure. We got. So the hammer there, the 9 to 10 is the faster one of those. So it's 1 and a 2 and a 3 and da-da-da-da. Okay, so 1 and a 2 and a 3 and then you got a quick one. And that's like 4E at the end. Okay, so they have a series of 12, 9, 10, and then we go 10, 10, and then we do the 12 again. So the 9 to 10 is always the faster bit. Now at the end of this one, we're going to have da-da-dee-da-dee-dum, and then 10, 12, 10. So that was 9, 10, 10, 9, 10, 12. So that's like a set of 6 notes there. So and then you got 10, 12, 10. And then we get into triplets again. We're going to have, these are like slower triplets. So the first one is still missing. So this is kind of a recurring theme in this, like 1 and a 2 and a. And that's really over 4 beats, but we can still look at it like that. So it's like 1. So it's 12, 13 on the second, 10, 12, 15. And then we keep going with 12, 13, 12, 13, 12, 10, 10, kind of quick on the 10, 10. So we got 1. So here we have 10, 12, 13, still in these triplets, 10, 12, 15, and then 12, 10, bend that 13, and then it kind of changes feels, and you got. So we have a bend on the 13, little 10, 13, 10. You got that 12 up and down on the G. Go to the 10, 12, 12 on the D, 10 down there. Whenever I got to go to the same fret, I try to throw a different finger in there. I kind of learned that kind of a Clapton trick. It keeps things really clean when you can do that. So once again, this little riff was. Now this one's going to be like a rake on this F minor, the ones. So you got a 3, 4, 3, kind of bend that 4 up and down. And then we have like a. So it's either a kind of a muted hit, or it's like this 1 down here. It's also like a triplet. 1, 4, 1. Bend the 3, and then 3, 1. And then we're going into the, kind of have a 1 to 2 here at the end of that. So we're back into that riff. Now we have a really pretty kind of arpeggio type of thing. Okay, so this is 12, 9 on the G to 10 on the D. Then we're gonna go 9 on the G to the 10 on the D to the 12 on the A. So these are like triads of each different chord here. So this is like. Then we're gonna go 7, 9, 10, 5, 7, 8, and then that F major 7 chord, 8, 7, 5, 5. So we got. Holds this 7 up here in the G for a long time. Kind of lets it go down to that 5. And then we're going to wait a minute. We're going to have. So this is 4, 5, 7 and kind of a triplet. 5 on the B, 5 on the G, 7 on the D. So that was 5, 8 on the B. Bending that 7th fret G again. Hold that a really long time. And then while you're still holding it and it's sustaining, he goes, he has like he'll sustain it and get 3 more bends out of it. And then he'll drop that 5 to 4 when that new measure hits in. He's got that kind of triplet, 4, 5, 7 again. 5 to 5. And then we wait a little bit. We have a really soft couple of opens, and then we're gonna have. So after the 2 kind of opens that mellowly get us towards this new measure, we're gonna have 4 opens, and then 5 to the opens, 7 to the opens, and then just 1 pull off on that 8 to open, 10 to 12 on this E. So then we have kind of a couple 12s. We have like a 12, 10, 12, 10, 8 to the 7. Kind of pull that off and back. And then at the end of this measure, we got. So 7, 8, 10, 8, 8, 10, 8, hammer on. Now we get into some higher stuff here. So that's going to be 12 on the G to the little 15. 13, 12, 10. So it's. So 8, 10, 12, hammer on, pull off. So. Got a couple trills there. So it's kind of a pull off, 10 to 8, and then 5, 7 on the D, 3, 5 over there. It could be like real quick, like, because you got to get back into that. We're going to hit that same 15, 13, 12, 10, and then the same. And then real quiet, you gotta. So 0, 3, 0 on the E, 5, 4, 2, 0 on the G, and then we get into a boom. So this is a C major 7. We got 3 on the C note on the A, 3, 5, 4, 5. So we got boom. And this is a F major 7 with a G bass. Boom. Now we're getting pretty close to the end of the song at this point. So after that's gone for a while, we're going to bend this 7 on the G string again. Kind of hold it for a while, and then it's real kind of smooth and soft right here. You got little E, and then you got, so you bend that 3 on the 2nd string, 1 to open. So this is gonna be 5 on the D, 4, 5, 7, 5 on the B, A minor chord, and then we have trill 7 to 8, 8 to 10, Do it twice. And then the very last thing is, so that was a little 3 open, 1 open, open on the G, 2 on the D, 3-2 on the A. I'm gonna go 7, 10, 10. And then you got a little 8 to 11 and 10 over here. And then the next riff. So that's 10, 8, 11, 10, up and down the half step to the 8. Sometimes it's like 2 8s on that one. That kind of a thing. So once again, 7, 10, 10, we got, it comes in after the 1 on the up of the 1, the and of the 1. So it's like 2, 3, 4, 1. You hold that. So that's 9, 10, 12 in the G. Hold that a little bit, and then 10, 9, 10 on the second string. So once again, we got 3, 4, 1. And then we're going to switch to the first finger on that 10 on the second string. So that's 10, 11, 13. And then 11, 10. Little 10 there. Then we have a new phrase here. We got 8, 10, 11, 10, 8. And then we have a little series of triplets. So we had the, and then we have 10, 10, 8. That's the first triplet. And then the second triplet is 10, 8, 10. But he does a little cool trick with a pull off. He goes, so it's 10, quick pull off, 10 to 8. To the other 10. So those triplets were, and then 8 to 9, 10 on the G. And then we can go 12 if you want. Back to that 10, or you could also find that note here with the 8. So it's like, or you could have gone. Okay, let me go through all that again. First finger up here. And then that ending. Okay, then we got a new part starting on that 10 on the second string. So it's 10, 11, 13 to the little 10. So it's, and then we're going to go. So that's 13, 12, 10, and then slide that 10 into 12. We got a 10 on the second string, 8, 10, 8. Then we got a 10 on the second string, a little half step bend up and down. So let's look at all this new part again. And then we have 9, 10, 12, 10 on the second string. Hammer onto the 11 and back. And then that beginning again. Now this time we're going to go. So 15, 13, 12, 13, 15, 10 into 12. So that's a 13, 13, 10 on the second string. And that's an 8, 10 a couple times back to the 8. And then 8 on the second string to 10, 9. That same ending thing. So that whole new part was like. And this new phrase of this part B type of thing is also on like a upbeat of the 1, so it's like 3, 4, 1. And then we have a great Latin groove pops in and has this excellent melody here. We got. This little melody right here plays a few times to get going and then has a solo over the top of that. So let's try that little riff. That's 7 on the G, and that's 10 on the G down to 10 on the B. Back to the G, 10, 9, and then we go 8, 11 on the B, and then 8, 9, 10. That's the whole riff. So. Let's try that. 2, 3, and. And you could solo over that in the D minor scale. So that'd be one position of it. You got 5, 7, 8 twice, starting on the 5th string, and you got 5, 7, and then you got 5, 6, 8 twice. And if you wanted to go on the big string, it'd be 5, 6, 8, back to that 5 root note. Now if you wanted to be up here on this 10, and Carlos gets into a, so hit that 13 and then pull it off twice to the 12 and the 10. I'll be bending those notes and stuff. So let's look at that scale. We got 13, 12, 10, 13, 11, 10, 12, 10, 9, 12, 10, and then 13, 12, 10 twice. Okay, and it's good to know all your positions, of course. I've got other lessons that go further into those scales and stuff. That is the Aeolian mode that we're in right here for this one. So let's look at that riff that ends this main thing. We got the... So at the end of the solo, that's going to morph into this. So we have 7, and then 10 and 9 on the G. And then 12, 10, 14, 12. And then second string, we got 11, 10. And then we got 10, 9 on the first string. 12, 10 at the end. Then we stop on that 10. Okay, so let's look at that whole thing. We got... So let's do a little review here, and then we'll hit the ending. We got 3, 4, 1. So let's do that next part of the song. We come in on the and of the 1. So it's like 3, 4, 1. Then we got the cool little groove thing. And then let's look at that thing that gets out of the end of the solo. Okay, and then at the end of the song, you're going to be going through some of these other melodies. You're going to have a little thing that repeats 3 times, and it's going to be that riff that had the 8, 10, 11. 3 times of that. Okay, and then it keeps going a little bit, kind of solos a little bit and stuff. But like I say, let's look at the, remember those scales? You can do a lot of cool jamming over this on that solo section. And listen to Carlos, how he does it, over here to be. Okay. And then way up top here, we'd have. Okay, little Carlos things. All right, this lesson is part 2 of Flor de Luna by Santana. This is all the chords, the cool jazz chords and the rhythms and the sections and everything. So first we're gonna have a D minor 9. A lot of great jazz chords you might not have seen in this. So this one we have the 5 here. This is kind of like that funk chord, the 7-9. But that 4 right there is a major third. We're making it a minor third over here. So we have 5 on the 5th string, 3 here on the D string, and then we have these 5s barred down in these bottom 3. D minor 9. Then we have an A7 suspended. So think of an A7. We got bar in the 5s. We got 7 and 6 on the 3rd string. But we're going to bring in the 7th fret on the 3rd string to make it a suspended 4th. And then we pull that pinky out. We have an A7. Then our next chord is a regular D minor, 5, 7, 7, 6, 5. And then we're gonna have a D minor major 7. That's when you have 5, 7, and then 6, 6. A couple of ways to do that. You could do these fingers over here. We want 5, 7, 6, 6. If you can get that finger to get to do that, it's really cool. Helpful to get that knuckle to going like that. Then we have a D minor 7, 5, 7, 5, 6, 5. Now we're going to have a G minor 9. It's like a G minor 7, but we have a pinky down here on the 5th fret of the small string. So you're barring all the 3s. You got a 5 on the 5th string and a 5 on the 1st string. Now G minor 6 is the same, but the pinky will come to the 2nd string 5th fret. G minor is your 3, 5, 5, and 3s underneath. Now this is a very interesting chord here. It's kind of like if you looked at the bottom of it, it's like an F sharp dominant 7, but it's got a 3 in it. And when you use it to get into that C7-9, it has a cool, weird, jazzy kind of moving thing in it. So it's like a 3, 2, 3, 2, 2. And it gets into the 3, 2, 3, 3, 3. So it's. And those go together in the same measure, like 2 beats each, so they work out. Then we're going to have we've got an A minor 7 top, 2, 2, 1, and 3. We got an F bass. Then we're going to have an F major 7. Keep that F bass, that thumb on the 1st fret. And we have 3, 2, 1 open on these bottom 4. And then we're going to have an E minor 7 flat 5, or E half diminished. This is 7 on the 5th string, 8, 7, and 8. And then we have a kind of a jazzy A7, a little different way of doing it. We got a 5 on the big one, nothing on the A, and then a 5, 6, and 5. Looks like a little D shape right there. Okay, then we have a kind of part of a C chord. We got these 5s right here, D string, G and B. And then G minor 7. You can kind of do like that with a 3 up here, and the 3s over here. So once again, we got D minor 9, 5, 3, 5, 5, 5. We got A suspended 7. We got 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 5. To an A7, which just jumps that pinky down to the 6th. D minor. D minor major 7 had that 5, 7, 6, 6. D minor 7 goes to the 5th fret there on the G string. G minor 9 has the pinky on the bottom there. G minor 6 moves it to the 2nd string. G minor normal. And this one, it's like a C7 flat 9, but it also has an F sharp in it. C7 flat 9, flat 5 kind of thing. into the C7 9. Then we have an A minor 7, but we have an F bass. And then we have a F major 7, E minor 7 flat 5, jazzy kind of A7, little C, and G minor. Okay, so how this tune goes is, so that little lead in is going to have us coming in on that right there. Okay, so it's bump bump dee da da da. 2 bars of that. We got the sus 7. Then we're gonna have 2 beats each. We got D minor to that minor major 7. 4 beats on the D minor 7. We got our G minor 9, G minor 6, D minor 7 again. We got an A7, D minor. We're gonna stop on the D minor right there. Okay, so once again we got D minor 9, 2 bars. We got the A7 sus to A7. Then we got this little walk down, 2 beats each here. And then G minor 9, G minor 6, D minor 7, A7. It's got a lot of Black Magic Woman kind of vibe in it too. D minor and stop. Now we got D minor 7 for 2 bars. We got A7 sus, A7. We got that little walk down. G minor 9, G minor 6, D minor 7, A7, D minor twice. Okay, then we got a G minor 7. This is in the tab. It'll have a star next to it. So G minor 7 could be like these 3s here. And then we have these moving chords. Okay, so that was that C7 flat 9, flat 5 kind of thing. Goes into that C7 9. And then we have A minor 7 with that F bass. F major 7, F bass. A7 sus, A7. Okay, so the first time it goes to like a couple D minor 7s there, and this next time it kind of shoots you back into the first part. So I'm gonna play that whole first part straight through. D minor 7 continues. Okay, then we had our G minor 7. Say first time you'd have D minor 7. Now we're going to move on into the solo section. We got D minor. We're going to split measures with this E minor 7 flat 5, 7 8 7 8, like 2 beats to this A7 that was 5, and then skip 1 and 5 6 5. So D minor. Okay, and look at these scales here. We got the D minor scale, Aeolian mode. have another position here in the 10th. Okay, so you can always go kind of pentatonic minor in the D. Carlos is great at kind of coming in and out of the pentatonic, but then adding the notes of the full mode as well to like pull out the greatest sounds that you can get. So how about you guys jam a little bit on the D minor scale? All right, so how about you guys jam? I'll give you some chords. 2, 3, and. Okay, and then when the solo is done, we're gonna have a D minor, A7. They share a measure, 2 beats each, like twice. And then we have a, so like a D minor, A7, and then stop on the D minor 7. Okay, so that's after the solo. You gotta, one of those things. Okay, then you're back into the G minor 7. Those moving jazzy chords. Now this end part is going to be D minor 9 twice. We got the A7 sus, A7, D minor walk down. Now we have a G minor 9 to C, to G minor 7, D minor 7, A7, and then we have the little solo section again. We got that 4 times. And on D minor, kind of keeps jamming. Talk to y'all soon. Thanks a lot.